And we're back with 3 games in 3 minutes. Joining me as usual is Shane Bettenhausen, Senior Executive Editor for the 1UP Network. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me back, Scott.
It's more than a pleasure. Let's start with the bad stuff.
You want to get to the bad part first? All right. This one isn't terrible, but there's better stuff out there. It's called Baja Edge of Control. It's from THQ for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. It's an off-road racer from the guys who used to make the MX vs. ATV series. But the real problem is there's a better game already out there. It came out a week ago. It's called Pure, and it's awesome. That one is just like outdoes this game in every way. The problem with Baja, it's a little too realistic. You're like, tweaking the parts of your vehicles, and it's not as fun as the off-road experience you get in Pure or the upcoming MotorStorm 2.
Now, is Baja in reference to the Baja 1000?
It is, and if you're like a fan of the sport, you might appreciate the real-life vehicles and stuff. But most people who buy these games just kind of want fun, arcadey feel, and they're not really going to get that here.
What's the big problem with it?
It just, the graphics are a little plain. There's not a lot of variety, and just the sense of excitement you'll see in those other games is not quite there.
All right, what's the try?
The try is Lego Batman, and there's been a lot of Lego games. There's 2 Lego Star Wars games, Lego Indiana Jones, and with Batman, The Dark Knight, everyone wants a Batman game, and this is the only Batman game out right now. Problem is, if you've played any other Lego game, it's the same game again, just with Lego Batman instead of Lego Jar Jar. So
is it the same thing? Platforming, puzzles,
identical.
Knocking people out, and they turn into coins.
Exactly
and stuff?
the same exact thing, just with a set of Batman on it instead of the other things. And it's a fun game to play with a kid, a lot of co-op, but you're gonna get bored if you've played any of the other games. So it's more of a rental. It's a perfect game to to drive from Netflix or something. But for $60, I think you can get a much better experience.
Now, the big one. What's the must-have?
The buy. All right, the buy comes in. It's a little under. Being totally awesome. It's the new Brothers in Arms. It's called Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway, and this series started on PS2 and Xbox. It was a huge hit. This is the 3rd game, but it got delayed for several years. It was supposed to be out 2 years ago, and they had some trouble getting the Unreal Engine 3, getting the performance they wanted. So here, it's finally here, and it is really good. It's a squad-based World War II first-person shooter where you're controlling a whole squad of guys, and it's kind of about the camaraderie of these characters. It's the same characters from the old games, and it's a really good game. The only problem is the graphics aren't quite as good as even last year's Call of Duty 4. So you take a little hit on the visuals, but it's very strategic, cool game, good story. It's on every platform. It's a good game.
Now you say this one's a buy, but yet you're giving it a little bit of a nudge to maybe rent this one more so than buy it?
Well, it's partially because there's a lot of shooters coming out, and this is one of the first fall shooters, but if you wait a little while, there's a new Call of Duty, there's Resistance, there's Gears of War, there's a lot of games coming out this fall. So if you're somebody who buys every shooter, then you want to buy this one. But if you're kind of selective and World War II fatigue, how many World War II games do you really need in 1 year? So if you're going to buy the new Call of Duty, you might not need both games.
Cool. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
That's it for this week. Check them out. Let us know what you think.